Welcome to Tuesday, February 27th, 2024. Your DayWeather Podcast brought to you by Hot Springs County Travel and Tourism in Thermopolis. You can always find yourself in hot water. Check them out at thermopolis.com. Weather whiplash, a lot of variability like that pendulum we showed last week. Going to be a lot of back and forth, and a lot of folks feeling that this morning, especially with a strong cold front working its way through the region. There's been moderate to at times heavy snow briefly. That's the history with this cold front. As it moves across the plains, though, it's going to lose a lot of its moisture. But nonetheless, strong cold front today with some brief periods of snow, especially early in the day today. A lot of wind and a big temperature drop. We have single digits, even sub-zeros across portions of Montana, parts of Saskatchewan, southern Alberta. There's a lot of cold air with this system, but it's a very fast-moving system, which means winds aloft are strong, which means I'm afraid to say it's going to get windy again and will be very windy across a large part of the west, I'm afraid to say, for another 48 hours. Now, we're going to have a brief rebound as the system heads east. Temperatures will rebound in many areas Thursday, Friday into Saturday, but we've got another west coast storm that's going to be at first kind of just sitting off the west coast, and that's going to bring more rain and snow to California, the Pacific Northwest, than the interior. So the interior meaning into the Great Basin, into Nevada, Utah, Idaho, getting on the other side of the Cascades, and then pushing into areas west of the Continental Divide. That'll be happening late this week and into the beginning of the weekend. Now, it gets colder east of the Divide and unsettled, especially in that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday time frame, but a lot of question marks on, and as we'll show you, about exactly how the weather will unfold late in the weekend and early next week. Have low confidence right now. Beautiful shots. That full moon that we had last week offered up a lot of great opportunities for photographs across the west. Nice shot there. Thanks, Carl, for sending that in. Now, as we take a look at the satellite imagery this morning, here's the trough and here's the frontal system. This area of enhanced clouds right here has been responsible for most of the snow, and it just basically migrated this way and will continue to move south and east, trending this way with colder air pouring in on the backside of it. You can see the cold air coming across South Dakota this morning there in the blue. Taking a look at all of the advisories, in effect, the pink here, red flag warnings, and then see all that brown in New Mexico, southern Colorado, and West Texas. This is the high wind area today. Going to be extremely windy along I-25 and I-40 in New Mexico and southern Colorado, then across the Texas Panhandle. Then you can see all of the advisories for winter conditions in the pink and blue that you have right here as that front has come on through, and more advisories for more winter weather there along the west coast in advance of the next storm system that will be approaching later on. So this is where we are as of this morning. The front early this morning, crossing and getting out of most of Wyoming, heading into western Nebraska, heading into the front range of Colorado, and then snow heading into the Colorado high country. Then just a lot of wind out ahead of the system across a wide swath of the area. There you see the precipitation basically from this morning through tomorrow morning. So this is where the action will be moisture-wise. This moisture right here is onshore flow with that next west coast storm. This precipitation here is going to be impacting basically from the front as it comes on through. So you can see the Colorado high country will get some snow, lighter snows out across the plains. There you can see the snow through Thursday morning there. And then these are temperatures by noon today. So you can see exactly where the frontal boundary is with the much warmer air ahead of it, much, much colder air behind the system. So we got used to, in many areas, these mild temperatures, but today today and tomorrow, going to feel like winter again. And unfortunately, look at all the wind. Just a huge swath of wind. So if it's windy in your neighborhood, don't feel bad. There's a lot of other people sharing in your misery, and you can see the high winds that we highlighted here. But we're also going to see strong winds right along and just behind the cold front across many areas of Wyoming, then across the Dakotas, across areas of Nebraska as well. As we get into Friday, we're going to get into a west to southwest flow. That's going to make it warmer, but all the black lines packed tightly together means a strong jet stream wind is associated with this trough. So along and east of the divide, it's going to stay pretty windy. And then the onshore flow is just going to bring Pacific moisture into California, Washington, and Oregon, then push some of that moisture into the interior. By Sunday, we see the trough coming in and pushing out in pieces across the divide. This is going to push snow into the Pacific Northwest, into Montana, more rain for central and northern California. And again, I hate to say it, but we just are going to be into more wind right along the Continental Divide east. Now, climatologically speaking, folks, March and April and May, you do tend to see, climatologically speaking, increasing wind. It's just the time of year where we start to see the seasons wanting to change, and you tend to have a more active and stronger jet stream. And that's exactly kind of what's unfolding here. There's a lot of busy weather coming in the weeks ahead, and that unfortunately does include more wind. But this broad area of low pressure comes into the northern Rockies, southwestern areas of Canada. That's going to bring precipitation and colder weather. Could see some pretty significant mountain snow Friday and Saturday and into Sunday. The question marks are what happens with this whole area of low pressure here as it tries to jump the divide. Before it does, though, this is the precipitation through 5 p.m. on Sunday. So you can see getting into the interior here, the Sierra Nevada, getting along and west of the divide, there is going to be more moisture. Now, east of the divide, not much will be happening in that Friday through Sunday time frame. But west of the divide, it certainly will, with more moisture flowing into the mountains and into the Great Basin states. Then we take a look at the differences in what the model projections are doing. And there's enough difference here to lead to very low confidence. The European model really wants to take everything a little bit more north along the U.S.-Canadian border and keep things a little bit disorganized, with an area of low pressure on the east side of the trough and another piece hanging back on the east side. So the storm basically can't get its act together, is what the European is saying. There's going to certainly be colder and unsettled weather moving in, but not a really organized storm if the European comes true. The Canadian model wants to consolidate a stronger storm over the western Dakotas, eastern Montana, maybe northeastern Wyoming. If this happens, then you have more of a winter storm event in this region right here as compared to the European, which is more diffuse. The GFS model, closer to the Canadian, a little bit more north, but a little bit more organized, a little bit more intense. So we've got a lot of question marks. Honestly, we could see a lot of different solutions come into play here with all this cold, moist air coming into the northern and central Rockies. What ends up happening east of the divide is still yet to be determined, so stay tuned. The bottom line is, no matter what happens, no matter what model is correct, colder, unsettled weather across the west and northern plains in southern Canada is coming in the days ahead. Another indication of that, the latest updated 45-day model, which goes out here, this is April 12th right here. The Arctic Oscillation is going into the negative phase by the weekend, which is that cold signal we talked about. The green line here is the mean of all the modeling, and it stays in the negative territory. The control run of the model has kind of a lot of ups and downs here. But again, this is a colder active signal. The Eastern Pacific Oscillation is all over the place, but still tends to be in a negative phase from the middle of March to that April 12th time frame right here. So what we have is what I guess you would expect when you go into the month of March, high variability. The pendulum is going to be swinging back and forth a lot. And every time the pendulum swings, you're going to get a change in temperature, you're going to get wind, then you're going to get precipitation. But again, as we mentioned, climatologically speaking, as you get into March, as you get into April, you do tend to see that variability going up. So we've got some active weather here in the weeks ahead. Have yourself a good Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow.